What's up, guys? It's Anthony from the Scale with Sales team here. We're back with another client interview. I am here with Coach B, Brandon Mizell. Say hello to the people.
What's going on, man? How's your day going?
Good, brother. Cool, cool. So yeah, man, can you just describe a little bit about like who you are, what you do?
Um, my name is Brandon. I go by Coach B. Um, Online fitness coach of 5 years as of next month. So 5 years as of next month. I've worked with over the last time I calculated 470, approaching almost 500 clients. We'll just say hundreds of clients. Yeah, I mean, main thing that we do right now, we post TikTok for men who work 10 to 12-hour days, blue collar, corporate, if they're kind of in that same kind of struggle, right? They're killing it with being a provider for their family, but they're not being a leader for their family. And the reason they're not being a leader for their family is because they can't lead themselves.
Mm.
So my little bald self steps in, bam, systems. Next thing you know, they're freaking killing it. They're down 30, 50 pounds, more confident, and yeah, they're killing it. Now they're able to be a provider, a leader, and they fill all roles, not just the most mandatory one.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. That's amazing. I didn't realize you've been doing this for that long because you're how old? You're 23?
Yeah, man, I'm 23.
Yeah.
Technically, I've been coaching off and on since 2018, 2019, but I didn't take it full time until 2020. Like I've been working with mentors and coaches. My first mentor that I had in the business aspect was like $400 or $500. I dropped that, worked with him whenever I was like 16, but I was working at Wendy's at the time, so $500 was like a fucking gold mine. So yeah,
Cool, man. Well, awesome, bro. So yeah, I mean that's honestly like a point I wanted to touch on where it's like you've worked with a lot of mentors yourself for how young you are and for being in business like for 5 years, but like it's been something you've done for a while. And you decided that's why we're on this call because you decided to work with me, you decided to work with Ryan and I, and because each one can only take you so far. So I'd love to hear like your perspective on that. Like Michael Jordan, he had a trainer that got him. It was his high school coach, whatever, got him into college, I guess, right? Then he was trainer, and then he got into the NBA, and then he hired Tim Grover, right? And then he turned into a savage, right? So it's the same thing. Like you can only get so far sometimes with so much information and education. So I guess I'd like you, before you even talk about your experience working with us, I'd like to just hear your mindset on why you believe in that in investing in yourself.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like the way that I think about it is, I'm 23 with a brand new car, living on my own, the most successful in my family, and the reason why I hire mentors is because like I want to be 23 with the new car, the apartment and stuff like that. And so working with new mentors, it's like kind of like whenever I reach out to you, it's like you didn't reach out to me, I reached out to you because I was like, hey, here's my bottleneck. Who do I know that can help me fix my bottleneck? Right? The first mentor that I worked with, I was flat broke, didn't really know how to, and this was after the initial mentor, right? Like whenever I took it full time, he had $320 in my bank account. He was like, all right, well, we can just break it up 300 month to month. And instead of being like, oh, well, I only have 320 waiting for me to save up, I was just like, okay, cool. Well, how much can I make from you? How can I set up the back end? So I didn't know the back end, I didn't know the systems, I didn't know the marketing. He basically gave me the blueprint. So my next mentor, I was like, okay, I got the blueprint. I'm making 7 grand a month, but I have a VA, don't know how to train them. What's the bottleneck? The VA, the training. And then that's obviously whenever I hired Zach. By hiring Zach, I met you. And now at a point, I'm like, okay, I got the VA, got the leads, ads are working. I'm not closing $2,000 deals with cold traffic. Okay, that's a sales issue. That's not a call booking issue. That's not a marketing issue. What's the next bottleneck? So it's
Yeah.
not necessarily that like each mentor is, and I think this is where a lot of people could get kind of confused, where it's like, oh, this one mentor is better than this mentor. Like when they're looking for coaches, it's like, no, like what's the bottleneck? This mentor is going to be better at that bottleneck, but he's going to be better at this bottleneck. So what's your bottleneck? Because if you hire him, but he's better at the other bottleneck, it makes no fucking sense versus hiring the next guy, who is just as good and just in a little bit different way.
Yeah, for sure, man. You have to find somebody who's done exactly like what you're looking to do for help with that area. So it sounds like that's what you're just aware of that. Cool, man. So I know you just touched on it a little bit. I had a lot of fun working with you. You know, you were very ambitious and goal oriented. Can you share a little bit about where you were at in terms of your business, your revenue, your sales, your closing percentage, you know, before we started working together?
Yeah, man. I mean, as you know, on our first call, I actually came to you in a very like a very shot mentality, because I was kind of like shooting the dark. So I went from like closing warm leads for like 1,500 piffs, 2,000 piffs, 4,000 piffs over text, like shit like that. Like it was crazy. Warm leads disappear very, very quickly if you're not growing at an organic rate like I'm not. So I was like, you know what? Let me run ads boosted. Let me try to close cold traffic. And what ended up happening is it went from closing two to $4,000 packages to $900 packages, but I was closing the same clients every single month. So my closing rate was like 20, 30% on a good month at like less than 50% like contract length. And so I was like, okay, well, I, I have a what I like to call an earned ego. I'm like, I know my program's worth 2,000 fucking dollars. I'm getting paid chump change when they're paying me 997 for something that somebody has
Mm,
paid me 4,000 fucking dollars for. And another thing is the people who are going to that you can sell at 2,000, I quickly learned are better than the clients who you sell at 1,000. Because the guys who sell at 1,000 at that small entry point, they don't listen. So whenever I came to you, I hated the clients that I was working with, like the new clients that I was getting. So I was making money, don't get me wrong. I was making like 7 grand, 6 grand, whatever it was. TikTok shut off my ads. So I was building back up and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna build back up, I'm gonna build back up at 2,000. Like I'm gonna build back up with clients that I enjoy working with, or I'm gonna get rejected. I'm gonna let them filter themselves out, um, with the price package.
mhm.
But I can only do that if I'm able to close consistently enough to where I won't go fucking broke with that mentality. So that's really where I came with you. I didn't like the clients I was working with. I was like at like a there was one month where I was like a 15% close rate for $997 packages.
Yeah.
And what really made me jump, I hadn't made below 6 to 7 grand since I was like 19. So years. I saw $4,500 in a month, and
That
that
was
was
the month,
January.
that was the month right before you hired us?
So that was January.
Yeah.
February I made like 5 grand. And I was like, okay, something's gotta fucking change. This is not at all where it should be. And then I hired you guys. So it was kind of like a little bit of scarcity
Yeah.
mixed with like my ego being like, dude, you're never gonna make 15 grand a month, fucking getting paid pennies. And then a belief system that was only blocked because of the scarcity of where I was in that moment. And I needed you to like basically say, hey, you fucking made this money before. Get out of your own fucking way.
Yeah.
Like,
You
fucking do
you,
it.
you came to us and you kind of like you made money from hustling. And a big thing that we would always talk about is like you made money before, you hustled your way to make money, but you did it in like an unsustainable way in a
Yeah.
sense, right? Where like you were in business for years and years and years, and then still we're having like 5 grand months, and you know your sales process. Like, how do you feel like your sales process changed specifically since working with us? We'll talk about results in a few minutes, but how did the process actually change? Like, what were some of the first things we did, if you could recall, and how
I know
did
exactly what we did. I
yeah?
remember exactly what we did because I think about it every single time we get on a sales call. Because it's that impactful. Before I was stuck with scripts. I know you. Okay, so there were two things I was doing where you were like, "How did you make it this far in business?" I was selling only on the phone, no Zoom, no nothing, and I was using scripts. I did those two things, and you were like, "Bro, we got to get you away from scripts. You got to start selling on Zoom. You need to quit doing 15-minute triage calls. You need to cut that down to 7 to 10 minutes and actually sell on the sales call, not the freaking triage call." Um, so we basically just took my sales process. We changed the things that needed to be changed, but it gave me more freedom. That's the big thing.
Mm,
Because I know right now, right? Like I'm trying to sell you right now. I have no script, I have no notes, I have no nothing. I've been able to get on a freaking sales call and just talk and make and sign a $2,000 contract. Like they're like, okay, yeah, I can't do the full 2,000. No worries. No, that's not a problem at all. What we can do is we can break it up. And they're like, all right, cool. And it's like I can come up with things like that off the top of my head instead of being like, oh, well, let me look at my objection handling script, right? It's like I can just I can flow. And that opened my eyes because it's like, okay, well, I knew the frameworks, but I wasn't confident enough to actually jump through it. And so when we like kind of leaned it down, it gave me freedom because now I could if I was at the beach. Oh, I got to drive home so I can get to my computer. And no, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Fucking load up
Gave you,
Zoom on my phone, bam, set it up, close.
you
So,
develop the actual ability of sales, like the skill.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome, bro. So, yeah, I mean, cutting the script out, I think that was huge. I remember that as well. The time commitment required from you on your end to work with us and like collab and like fix your sales process. Like, what responsibilities, what commitment did you have? Was it super time intensive or what was it, smooth? Like, describe that process of auditing and working on your sales process with us.
I mean, if anything, I might have been doing a little bit less than what I was doing before, actually, because I felt like I had to constantly like set up follow-up calls after follow-up calls. Like there was a client that I signed the month that I hired you. It took a discovery call, a sales call, and two follow-up calls before he paid me 650, half pit. So 650 and then another 650. And it's like, but I mean that's four calls. That's four time slots, right? So whenever I worked with you, it was more so I was already doing the right things in the wrong manner. So all I had to do was commit to a 45-minute call with you and then a 45-minute call with Ryan. And the startup process was like, I'm already doing it. I'm just doing it better. So really, the best way to put that is like, okay, if you have 90 minutes to talk to you guys and then you actually fucking implement what you should already be implementing, you just implement it better. So it's not really an extra time constraint.
Exactly. And now you feel like you have more time in your business because you're better focused, you're more optimized, things like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not doing fucking 30-minute triage calls and then a 30-minute sales call. So that definitely saves time.
For sure. So tell us about. So you started, I believe it was like mid-March we started because I'm pretty sure I was in Brazil when I got you onboarded.
You, yeah.
Um, Tell us, because so like January, February is pretty slow. March it was kind of like half a month, but then tell us what the results you got in a business sense were from working with us.
I, it was insane. So I invested into you guys. And within those 2 months,
Don't say the amount you invested.
I'm not saying how much I invested. Within those 2 months, I made like 20 grand. No, 24 grand. 24 grand.
You had almost a record month, right? Like the first full month working with us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I hit 14,300, which was like $100 or $200 off from being 14.5, um, which was almost a record.
Same lead flow.
Same lead flow. Um, Same lead flow, and because we were talking about different language, and I were to overcome objections on sales calls, I actually was able to use that in my actual DM process and change the language. And so when people were hesitant to get on the phone call, I was able to use the same kind of thought process and sales and strategy and stuff like that to kind of get them on the call. And now once they're actually on the call, we have the triage call. We're cracking up, make them laugh, be charismatic, but hold the right framing. Then it was like, okay, by the time the sales call came, they're like, okay, A, he knows his shit. B, he's fucking hilarious, you know? It is what it is. But no, but number three, it was like, okay, well, we actually had the process dialed in. And I was able to know exactly when to put in the indoctrination video, when to send it, so that it didn't look, I don't want to say it didn't look salesy, because at the end of the day, we are selling, but you could send it at the right point to trigger, like, okay, well, now I trust him even more versus trying to get the trust before instead of trying to force the trust. It was kind of smooth system, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you made a whole bunch of money pretty quick. Were you pretty surprised about how fast the results actually came?
Not necessarily. And
Hmm.
the reason I say that, it's 50, I'd say it's 60% of my self-belief when it comes to sales, because I've always loved sales. But 40% was like your conviction of being like, it wasn't even really your conviction. It was like your matter of fact, like way of teaching. It's like, bro, it's not that big of a fucking deal, bro. Just get on the call, do this. It's not that big of a deal. And so whenever you talk about it like that, because a lot of sales guys, they'll start talking like this. They're like, once you get on the call, you got to get on there, and this is exactly what you're gonna say. And it's like, bro, it's like such pressure, and you're like, oh my fuck. But you're like, dude, you're literally just teaching them how to fucking not be fat. Like it's not that big of a deal. And it's like, shit, you're right. And then like once you think about it like that, and then you're like, but in the process of how teaching them how to lose weight, this is how their life changes. And then it's like, oh shit, you're right. So it's not that big of a deal to ask them. But it just makes sense to ask them out for that amount of money because this is how it changes their life. But in asking, it's not that big of a deal because of the way that your tonality, the way that you teach. So in my head, I'm like, oh, this is such a big deal to sell to cold leads. And you're like, dude, just fucking tell them to eat broccoli. It's not that big of a deal, you know?
Yeah,
So
you gotta downplay it, man, for sure.
yeah. So it took the pressure away, especially as somebody, as you know, I can't get in my head. As you told me, you're like, bro, cut off caffeine. You're fucking overthinking. Chill out. And I'm like, all right. So those two things really helped with
Awesome.
combining it.
Yeah, man, I think it's awesome to see your business growth and your personal growth. The other thing, if you could touch on it, because I want to commend you because we worked together and it was only like 8 weeks or so, and it brought out a lot. I always say sales is personal development training, and to be honest, I gave you a lot of sales advice, but we also had to work on a lot of like you know mindset stuff with like getting stressed out in your business and like other stuff, right? Like you want to scale, like we kind of had to turn you into the guy that has the capacity to scale, not just a better salesman. And so not only like I guess ways that I helped you or Ryan helped you, but I'd love for you to just kind of talk about how this process helped turn you into the guy that has the capacity to make this money and scale, because you definitely like went through a lot of shit during those 8 weeks we worked together.
Oh, dude. Like, okay, so what many of you guys listening to this won't understand and won't know is one thing I brought up to Anthony on when he was selling me. He didn't sell me. I explained the exact reason why I was hesitant and proceeded to tell him exactly why that was bullshit. And I was like, I just need you to fucking hold my hand. And because that's where my head was at. And he was like, all right, cool. And of course, the way that he did it, he was like, it's not that big of a deal, bro. Just here's the wire. And I'm like, perfect. Let's fucking do it. So
Yeah.
I did it. Um, but in that process, I was in that mentality where I knew I needed to change. And one thing Anthony probably also doesn't know. So because I was in that grind state before hiring him, I did tell him a few things. I'm like, I'm in this toxic relationship. I've got all this stuff going on. My dad died, and then in 2024, I was going crazy. I bought multiple cars, wasting money, and now I'm like, I just need to rebuild who I am. And what Anthony doesn't know, because I just never told you, I actually ended up finally and officially getting away from that abusive relationship. And I say abusive because she said, I'm sorry for abusing you. And that's whenever it clicked. I was like, fuck, dude, I was in an abusive relationship. I'm supposed to be the fucking man. I'm letting some 5-foot chick abuse me. It's crazy. And I laugh about it because that's how ironic it sounds. But and the reason I was able to do that, not only was I able to make more money, it really did give me the confidence where he's like, bro, life is not this fucking serious. And once I was like looking at my life, I'm like, so why does my life look this serious? And you're on a boat in fucking Miami chilling out. I'm like, so he really made me analyze.
Mm.
And he told me a few times, he's like, dude, you're already living the life. You just have to start living it. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Then I was like, oh, okay. So then I started looking. I'm like, I could go to the beach whenever I want. I do have the money. I'm not like I shouldn't be in scarcity. So I cut off the friends that were like constantly pushing me to do things that were like that I didn't agree with, that I was trying to fit in with. I cut off the abusive ex that was like, oh my gosh, your ego is deplorable and blah blah, saying all this bullshit, trying to bring my ego down, trying to bring my self belief down. And then he gave me the self belief to hire an assistant so that I didn't have to grind my face off. And so now it's like not only am I making more money, not only can I freaking have, the mentality, the way to think about certain things on sales calls. It's like, okay, well, because I think that way here, it's like fucking, okay, how can I take the same mentality here, 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 and here? And so now it's like, I'm truly like actually rebuilding. And one thing Anthony told me all the time, and I've had four people tell me this since then. You said, dude, you're so busy when we're using the verbiage of like, oh, well, back in 2020, oh, back in this, oh, back whenever my life was like this. You're always looking at the past. And so now it's giving me the ability to be like, oh shit, you're right. And so now I catch myself and whether I'm talking to myself, talking to somebody else, they're like, oh yeah, back in 2020, and I'll stop. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. How can we make 2025, 2026 better than 2021? Because yeah, it was more fun, but I was fucking broke. I was making $800 a month in my business, maybe 4,000 at the highest. It was like like that big and that small of jumps, and so it was like that full like mental change. And then I cut everybody off, and for 4 weeks, I ended up burning out. But that was also the best thing because that's where the real growth was. Because it put me in a position where I can't leave the house because I'm sick. I can't do certain things. I can't go out with certain people. And so I was able to actually focus. And like it was me, my thoughts, how do I work through this shit?
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, it's like, okay, well now sales are easy.
Yeah. We had to figure out the real bottleneck, man. Like it wasn't just sales, like it was like just the unsustainable way. So like I feel like I taught you a better way for you to sit with yourself, analyze. We got you off of caffeine. We
Nah,
got you doing things you enjoy again, and we got you making more money and also spending less time in your business. And I feel like you truly became the CEO you wanted to be. So that leads me to, where do you see, like, if you stay on this trajectory, like, where do you see your business being able to go in the next 6 to 12 months?
I mean, dude, I fucking reworked my whole vision board and everything. I literally see it whenever I look up. Um, I mean, 6 months, dude. 6 to 12, 15K within four. I mean, I'll say within four. Um, I'll say 20K within about 8 months. That's kind of like the goal. Anything after 20K, it's a bonus because 20K, I mean, you got true freedom at 20. Anything outside of that, it's like if it adds more stress, like negative stress, not growth stress, not growth pains, but negative stress, I don't care to get past 20 right now with where I'm at. I'm coming from the mentality of making 14K. So,
Yeah, awesome, bro. Think it's like big to say because it's not just about like making more money from working with us. It's like giving your business the opportunity to even be able to make more money like for months to come and things like that. So, yeah, I guess last question here for you, bro. If somebody's on the fence about working with us or any final thoughts that you'd like to share, just on the process for anybody that's watching.
I mean, if you like money, get the fuck off the podcast, bro. Fucking text him, bro. Hey, man, I heard the guy talking about how he was pretty fucked up and now he's making a lot of money. Like, bro, just fucking message him already. Like, like if you feel broke, just get off the podcast. Just freaking set up a Zoom call, set up a call with him. No, but on a more serious note, A, that's true. But B, um, I've looked into a lot of sales guys. I've worked with a lot of business guys. I've talked to a lot of guys in the industry, and I can tell you right now, one thing that Anthony, I think, has done better in a lot of ways, besides one other mentor, which is the guy which is Zach, the one that we connected through. You have a very good way of making it not feel about sales, but making it feel about the personal thing. I don't know if it's the personal connection, but it's more about like a lot of mentors. If I would have been like, "Hey, I'm struggling with anxiety right now. I got the abusive ex. I got this going on. Like my life just feels like it's like rock bottom right now. We're headed there." Most people would be like, "Oh well, if you just make more money, bro, like just get rid of the girl, just make more money. It'll fix that problem." You're like, "Yo, you made it personal." Like obviously, I'm not gonna talk about the things that you brought up that we talked about, but you made it personal. You're like, "Yo, I was in this situation. I was in these shoes." And there was one time that sticks out to this freaking day where I was like, yeah, I know, but, and you're like, yo, I'm not trying to like little bro you right now, but I fucking know. Like you think you know, but I actually know. And so if you want to get to my level,
Yeah.
and it was like that wake up call where it's like you're not gonna sugarcoat it, but you're also not gonna try to skimp over it because you know that's truly what is like the bottleneck. It's not because I don't have a certain word track or whatever the bullshit that people say nowadays. It's like well, fuck, he can say the right words, but if he doesn't have the conviction behind the words, he's still going to stay broke. And you were able to actually sit there and actually do that and like sit there and you're like, hey, look, if you aren't struggling with this, we could talk about system stuff, but there's no fucking point. So let's sit on the real shit. And it was like that, what that right there was the difference, and that's what made the real money. And so, yeah, if you want somebody who's actually going to sit with the real shit that you need to overcome, that's actually stopping you, not a fucking script or a way to go through a triage call, that's what you got to do. And then in turn, that's going to make you a lot more money. And so, if you're sick of feeling broke, or you want to feel a little bit less broke, like me, it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
let's fucking do it.
I love that, bro. I agree. It's like there's no point in making a couple extra grand more if we have these problems below the surface. What's the biggest thing you got from working with Ryan, would you say, in the program?
Dude, that is one thing that I kind of talked about a little bit. The yin and the yang of like you guys. Like your personalities are completely different, but they're completely like they're completely opposite in the best way. Because and the reason that works is because like if you give me a perspective, I know I can go to him and get close to the same perspective in such a different way to where like if I didn't take away from your perspective, I'm going to take away from his perspective, or I'm just not fucking paying attention. Like it's like that. Well, because you're very much like more on the I'll say more not necessarily charismatic, but it's less logically spoken
Less
in the
tact,
way of
less
teaching
tactical.
sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you're just like, bro, it's not that big of a fucking deal. Like you're more like the belief issue, and he's like more analytical. And so he can sit down and be like, oh, well, this is where you're at in your sales process. This is why it's not working. Hey, this is what you could say, and this is why it works. And he breaks it down in such a logical way to where it's like, oh, this thing where you're like, bro, it's not that. It's super simple. He's like, well, here's why it's not actually super simple, so that you can understand it on a deeper level. And the reason that works so well is because if I only learned from him, I'd probably be like, oh my gosh, sales is so complicated. But because I can learn that from him and then go and learn that from you, I'm like, that sounds complicated, so I understand it at the core value of what it is. Then you come in and you're like, yeah, bro, that's exactly what it is. It's not a big deal. So it's like a buffer, and it's like, oh, thank the Lord, dude. I thought I was gonna like fucking brain was gonna explode. So it's the perfect yin and the yang. I freaking love it.
I love that, bro. Cool. Well, yeah, man. Thank you for so much for sitting down with us, sharing us your perspective. I'm definitely like super excited to see where you and your business are headed in the next couple months. I think you have a very, very bright future. And yeah, brother, that's pretty much it.
Perfect, man.
All
Now time
right.
to make some more fucking money.